Hello, and welcome. This is an update video for WebCrafter 014. I'm super excited to introduce this one because it has a VR template that has physics. It has a interactable type that is for embedded videos in your 3D scene, and it also, what else does it introduce? Oh, a new camera waypoint system that's really helps or makes it more efficient and easier to like add cameras into Blender and then copy those parameters of those cameras into your 3D scene. So let's hop into it and let's check it out. I have the VR template running right now, and in the template on desktop, there was a pop-up. So if I hit escape, you can see this pop-up, and this is what you land at when the site's loaded. It gives you some instructions on how to interface with the site. So on desktop, it's WASD. On mobile, like a little circle joystick, which most people should be used to if they're used to 3D scenes. And if not, there's instructions right there. And then you can also open it in MetaQuest. So here I am on desktop. I'm using my WASD keys to fly around. And right now I'm just flying through space, flying through all the walls because I haven't added any collidables, which we'll go ahead and hop into Blender and do that. So let's add some collidables, let's add some video elements, and let's add video. So right off the bat, I'll just make a wall. So I'm gonna just add a mesh, go over to the face, extend it, let's delete the face. I guess I could add a box, but that's fine. Okay, so here's our bounding wall we just made. Let me actually make it a little bit smaller so it'll be easier to test. Okay, so there's our bounding mesh surrounding our space. Oh wait, we do want backface culling on. It's just inverted. Okay, and now in our WebCrafter panel, you can see I have the Walk VR template selected. Then I have a new option under the Walk VR template, which goes away if I switch over to scroll. So I'm going to switch back into Walk VR, and there it is, physics object. So I want this wall to be a physics object because physics objects are ones that you collide with. Okay, so I just checked it as a physics object, and now there's three new options. It's static, dynamic, and invisible. So you can make an invisible dynamic object or an invisible static object. So static being it's not going to move, dynamic being you can push it around and it has mass and you have mass. Okay, so we want this to be static, and we also want it to be invisible. So that's all we needed. Let's export. You can see our Blender output down here. It says scene export completed, so I know I'm ready to test. And there it is. I'm hitting the wall as I fly through the mesh. So I didn't make it perfect. I could match up this mesh a lot closer, but this is the general strategy into adding collidables in your scene. Now let's do something. Actually, I kind of want this guy. Yeah, this guy to be collidable also. So I'm gonna just gonna be lazy about this one and make this a collidable object. Hit checkbox, hit static, and then export, refresh. And now, there it is. I'm walking on it and I'm bumping into this wall. Okay, great. So we've just added collidables. Now let's add a few dynamic objects so that we can push around for fun. I'm going to add a UV sphere. So I'm going to add the UV sphere. I'm going to scale it down and I'm going to apply the scale. Okay, and now I'm going to just duplicate it a few times, make sure they're not overlapping, because we don't want the dynamic objects to get stuck together. Okay, so I have a bunch of spheres I just added. I'm going to select them all. I'm going to go over to my physics, set it as a physics object, set it as dynamic, and then export. And now I come over here and refresh. There they are, some physics balls. Now one guy, oh yeah, I didn't select that guy, so it's just a mesh floating up there, but you can see as I'm bumping into them, they're moving around just fine. We got our soccer balls were bumping around, which is cool. And now let's make actually one of them really heavy. So if I just click on one of the tabs, let's make sure my GUI is showing. Yeah, okay. So if I click on one of the spheres and I open up the edit tab, you can see there's a dynamic tab with a number here. So if I set this number to something like, let's do 200, and then I just export, what that's doing is telling the physics engine, hey, make this object 200 kilograms, and the player is only 60. So we should have a harder time pushing that one around. Yeah, so we do. But yeah, so you can play around with different masses if you'd like in that setting, and that's how you would do that. Okay. Also note that the player is 1 meter tall, and that's just the way that this was set up. Okay, so let's move on. Let's add our plane. Let's make the plane a 1x1 mesh. Okay, and now our video will go ahead, make sure we have our geometry to the center. Our video will fill this box as best as it can right to the middle. So the edges, if it's a rectangle, it'll fill right in the center. So now we have that. Let's move it over to the position where we want our video to be. That should be good enough. And now let's go into WebCrafter. Let's make it an interactable object. Let's select the video, the new video type here, and then add in a URL to a MP4, which I've already done. Let's do that, export, and refresh. Okay, there you go. See, as I click the start button, the video started playing. And there we go, we have a video with positional audio. So as we go farther away, it's quieter, and closer, it's louder. Very cool thing to have in a VR website or a scrolling or orbit website. This will work in all the templates. Great. So next up on the list is the camera system. So I guess before moving on, I should mention really briefly that this collision system will work great on multiple floors. So you could easily add a staircase that goes up to the second floor here, and then maybe even another floor, whatever you would like. It makes it really extensible and easy to build out a scene like that. All right, let's go into the camera system now. So I will stop the server. I will refresh with the server stopped, and then I'll come in here and delete all of our physics components, but we'll leave the video. Okay, delete. So now the new camera system. This works by adding a camera to the scene. Instead, there used to be a button here that would say import camera mesh, and you'd have to move around that camera mesh and kind of hope that it was in the right position. Now, what I've done is make it so that it works with the walk navigation system inside of Blender. So like I'm flying around here with a crosshair in the middle, the new camera system takes advantage of this feature in Blender. So now, instead of a checkbox and that import mesh, what you would do is just move your viewport to a position where you want the camera, in your website to be. Let's actually also use the scroll template for this. So switching over to scroll, move our let's say we want our waypoint to actually start right in the corner. So I'm just going to fly to the corner right here like this. And that's the same thing as if I was to just type walk navigation. I just have a hotkey that lets me do that really quickly. Okay, so I've added a now I'm in the position I want. Let's add a camera, and there we go. As easy as that, we've just added a camera to our scene that's tagged and will be used in the scroll template. So then if I just hit start my server and I refresh here, we'll start right in that. Oh, and hold shift and refresh will clear the cache. You can see it's matching basically. The camera field of view is being matched with what's in Blender. Our screen is just small and we don't have anything that we're framed. We're just throwing the camera in there. Okay, so if I was to change the field of view of the camera, let's do that without hard ops. Let's just change the field of view here, export, and then refresh. You can see the update is immediate, which is a very useful new feature. So now, let's say I wanted to add a new one. I could move my camera again, select a different object, and then click this button and do that once more. You can see it added a new camera tagged appropriately, 0, 1. So you want a sequence of cameras. But the workflows that I prefer when I'm using WebCrafter is to use these buttons here found in the Camera Waypoint system. So I'm just going to click View Camera, which will move me and set the active camera in my viewport. Then I'm going to click add a camera waypoint button. And what this does is create a new camera with the same field of view and everything of my previous selected camera. And now if I click view or walk WASD, which is just walk navigation, I can walk through my scene and just quickly keep adding new cameras and positioning them as I want them. And then also I can start playing with the field of view more. Let's say I want to get really close so it's very loud. New camera, walk. Okay, great. But let's say, oh, wait, actually, I'm not too happy with the previous field of view. So I'm going to click on the previous camera and then click this view camera button, and it will hop me into that view really quickly. And now I can say, okay, that's too big of a field of view. Let's make it more reasonable. There we go. So I just tweaked it back, and now I can do the same thing. I can go over here and then click view camera back to where I was, add a new camera, and kind of back out. And just like that, we have a really interesting path. So a lot less tweaking needed than in the versus like the older versions of WebCrafter. There we go. We're moving our field of view a little bit, and we're following along the path. So great. That is the major updates to WebCrafter 0.14. If there's any questions or comments, please let me know, and I'm happy to help. I'm always available, or mostly always available in the Discord, so go ahead and share your messages or comments and whatnot there. So excited to see what you build, and cheers.